Hello, I'm Shannon Skinner, and welcome to Extraordinary Women TV. Well, I've got a great show lined up for you today. In the first half hour, you are going to meet Caroline Riseboro, who is the Vice President of Public Affairs for World Vision Canada. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute. When I ask my guests for their top success tip, you'll hear Caroline's. In the second half of the show, we'll be talking about how referral marketing can grow your business. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Well, Caroline Riseboro, it's nice to have you on the show. Caroline is the Vice President, Public Affairs, World Vision, and World Vision, of course, is a Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. That's a mouthful.
That was indeed. Good job.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's great having you on the show today.
It's great to be here.
Now, you have an interesting job.
I would agree with you. I definitely think so.
Yeah, it's really an inspiring one. And you've been with World Vision for about 10 years, but prior to that, you worked in the advertising field. Let's just trace your career.
Sure. Well, when I graduated, it was around sort of the dot-com boom, and I went to go work for a small dot-com startup, and then eventually found myself in the hustle and bustle of the advertising world, working in Toronto, and I was working for one of the largest ad agencies in Canada. And I worked on a huge telecom account, but yet something was missing. I would remember just going to work and thinking to myself, there's something just not feeling right. And sort of through a whole kind of journey of self-examination, I just decided one day I walked in and I quit. And I didn't know what I would be doing next, but I knew I needed to do something that really followed my passion. And through a series of events, I figured out what that passion is and found myself working at World Vision.
Now, you know, working for an ad agency is something that a lot of people dream about. There are a lot of people that want to break into the advertising industry, and they can't because, you know, there's only so many jobs. But you had that star job, and yet it wasn't something that fulfilled you.
People actually told me, you are crazy for leaving. You know, here you have this job, you have this potentially amazing career ahead of you, you're working on one of the biggest accounts out there, and yet you're leaving because it doesn't feel right. So I really went against, I think, the grain, or against the status quo, and it was definitely a risk. There was definitely a lot of fear, but I just knew I needed to do something that followed my passion. And my passion was really about using my gifts, my talents, my smarts to contribute to society and to improve the world. And I had no idea I could mix that passion with these advertising and marketing skills that I had developed over the course of a number of years. But I found myself working for World Vision Canada, and I was working in their marketing and fundraising department, where I was using those very same skills that I had used in advertising. But instead of creating more shareholder value, I was helping to save lives for some of the world's most vulnerable children. So it was, you know, a very scary step, but it was one that I found really paid off in the long run.
When you were, you know, when it wasn't feeling right for you, was it that you were unhappy or unfulfilled, or, I mean, what was that sort of feeling when you walked in the door or every day for work? Did you just go, oh my God, I don't want to be here? It was a combination of that, but sometimes it was even just a little bit more subtle. It wasn't that I walked into work every day and dreaded the day ahead of me, but it was just something felt a little bit off. And, you know, I've come to realize over the years that a lot of people have that feeling, but yet, you know, it's very true. A lot of people do, but society just kind of tells you, well, you know what, you have to get a good job, and that's part of building a career, and stay with it. Stick with it. Stick with it for as long as you can, because you don't want to look like you're jumping around jobs. Exactly. But you know, sometimes in life we need to take some risks, and I think, you know, there's that gut feeling that sometimes we often ignore. But, you know, I would say to a lot of people, follow that, because it can. You'll find yourself in extraordinary places when you do so. So listen to your intuition. So what were the steps that you went through? I mean, the process that you went through when you said, okay, I know that this is the direction I want to go in. Did you seek a life coach, or did you have your own spiritual practice? I mean, how did you come to that realization, okay, this is it, I want to go into this direction, and then found yourself at World Vision?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it was a number of those things. I will say, though, you know, I shared this news with a lot of people around me. I had some people that were very supportive, but I had a lot of naysayers, and I think, you know, people have to be prepared. When you go against the grain, you're going to have a number of naysayers. In fact, they may be the majority. But you know, make sure you keep listening to that sort of, you know, still small voice inside of you. And I also have a deep faith. I really sort of went back to my Christian faith, and you know, prayed a lot about it too, and just sort of waited for the right door to open. And I think when you're following your passion, it does, and it's just a matter of time. But you do have to persevere, and you have to be patient, and you have to be ready for the highs and the lows on the journey.
Well, some great person said greatness didn't happen over time, or sorry, greatness didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So anything great has happened over the course of a long period of time.
Yeah.
So patience is perhaps key. And of course, World Vision is Christian-based, so something that's very important to you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great opportunity to be able to marry my values with my work each day. But I think there's also lots of opportunity for people to take a look at their values and say, how can I live out those values in my day-to-day career? And oftentimes people think that they can't do that, but in fact they can. So whether you're passionate about justice, or whether you're passionate about helping some of the most downtrodden, whatever that value is, you can definitely marry that with your career. It's not just about making money.
So let's talk a little bit about your role at World Vision, in the role of public affairs. You do a lot of advocacy work.
We do.
Yeah.
Whether it's working directly with government, working directly with international governments, or even working with Canadians, just to put the issues on the radar. That most Canadians have no idea what's happening a world away. That's a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the work that I do.
What are some of the biggest advocacy issues you're dealing with at present?
One advocacy issue that we have been working on for a number of years is child and maternal health. So a lot of Canadians don't know this, but there's almost 8 million children dying each year under the age of 5 simply because they don't have access to basic health care, basic nutrition. And the majority of these deaths are prevented. So we've been working with the Government of Canada as well as international bodies like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, to try and tackle this, because there's some simple interventions, like, for instance, providing birthing attendants for mothers who are about to give birth, that can help save millions of children's lives.
I came across a really interesting stat. United Nations estimates that 66 million children around the world are affected every year by disasters such as floods, earthquakes, and drought. 66 million. It's really hard to fathom.
Well, if you think about it, it's double the population of Canada. And that's just children who are impacted, not to mention disaster, not to mention the number of family members that are also impacted. So it is a huge number, and unfortunately we're seeing that increase.
Now, sort of what, I mean, child sponsorship is a very big part of what World Vision does as well. I mean, you know, what percentage of child sponsorship versus relief work, aid work, does, you know, what's the ratio there for World Vision? Is it most of your work relief work, or mostly child sponsorship, or really 50-50?
It's hard to say, because I think the split differs every year depending upon what's happening around the world. So many people remember the Haiti earthquake a few years ago. That was obviously a significant response for us. But for the most part, we're looking to try and address the root causes of poverty. And one of the best ways to do that is through child sponsorship where we have a Canadian link up with a child and their family for the long term. And what we're able to do is build the resiliency of that family so that they're able to earn more income to send their children to school, so that they're able to provide that child with nutritious food. And those are really addressing the root causes of poverty.
Do you have a child that you sponsor?
I do, a child from Zimbabwe.
Oh, fantastic. It sounds like it's such a wonderful organization, and what a great cause. You know, how much is it a day now that is really, you know, required or effective to make a difference in a child's life in Africa?
Well,
in terms of donations.
In terms of donations, yeah. I mean, you can sponsor a child for $35 a month, and I can assure you that, and I can, assure the viewers today that when they do that, they really have an amazing impact in helping to lift that child out of poverty. I've seen children who have become part of our sponsorship programs in the early days, and then I've seen children who have been sponsored by Canadians for 5 or 10 years, and the difference is staggering. And I would encourage Canadians, sometimes they feel like they can't make a difference because it's a world away, but they really can change the life of a child forever.
Now, Caroline, we're going to take a break, and this means it's my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you have a great success tip, so jump right in there.
My success tip would be follow your passion. I think life is too short to be doing something that you're not passionate about and that's not building your soul. And that can sometimes mean taking a risk, but I would say, take that risk because it does pay off in the long run. You feel so much more alive when you're living out your passion.
Well, thanks for that. Live out your passion. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more with Caroline Riseboro, who's here with World Vision Canada. So stay right there. Welcome back to the show. I'm joined by Caroline Riseboro, who's the Vice President of Public Affairs for World Vision Canada. Fascinating organization, does really great work. And one of the things that World Vision is quite involved in the relief work is working with celebrities. Or there's a lot of celebrities that lend their name or do a lot of work with World Vision. And you've just had a really interesting campaign with one of those celebrities. Let's talk about that.
Well, we just got back from Ethiopia with Cardinal Official, which many people know is a very talented and popular music artist on the Canadian music scene and internationally. And he went to Ethiopia and was able to, I think, see the devastation that's happened with the Horn of Africa emergency, but then also take a look at some of our programs that have helped families and children in particular make it through this emergency.
And he's doing not a documentary, but he's doing a special on his experience. Is that right?
That's right. So we actually partnered with eTalk Canada on this, and they joined us on the trip, and he will be featured in the coming weeks in terms of talking about what he saw, what he experienced, and just also what he's passionate about now because of what he saw while in Ethiopia.
Now, I know that you've worked with in the past Jane Arden, Tom Cochran, Alex Trebek, Cassie Campbell.
Yes.
You've worked with quite a bunch of celebrities. One question I really want to ask is, does it make a difference in having celebrities involved with relief organizations in fighting poverty and whatnot? Does it help? Does it make a difference? Do you see sort of more money coming in, more interest, more awareness overall?
It's a great question. I think the challenge has oftentimes been that there's these humanitarian emergencies around the world. So, for example, with the recent famine in the Horn of Africa, that was going on for many, many months before Canadians in the world started paying attention to it. And oftentimes, we're trying to get these emergencies on the radar of Canadians, on the Canadian media, and it can sometimes be very difficult. But then all of a sudden, if you transplant a celebrity into the situation, celebration, people's eyes start focusing on them, and they're able to use their celebrity to raise issues and causes that normally would not be on the radar of Canadians. So I would say that celebrities have an immense following, an immense cachet with the public that can allow them to use their celebrity to draw Canadians' attention to some of the most, I think, pressing humanitarian issues around the world. And so as a result, at World Vision, we try and partner with celebrities as much as possible.
Now, you have, of course, not only do you have the relief work and the child sponsorship, but you've got the gift catalog as well, where people here, right here in Canada, can put their money toward mosquito nets and helping women start businesses in some of these countries. Let's talk about that.
Well, it was interesting. We did a poll a number of years ago, and we asked Canadians, what do you need for Christmas this year? And we gave them a myriad of options. And we found that 86% of Canadians came back to us and said, I don't need anything for Christmas. And
isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. And in fact, they said, I'd rather see that money that would normally be given as a gift do something to improve the world. So we developed the gift catalog about 10 years ago. We were one of the first charities in Canada to offer the gift catalog. And what the gift catalog is someone can go to worldvision.ca. They can choose a whole different range of Christmas gifts with a whole range of different price points, and they can give a chicken or mosquito nets or a loan to start a small business to a family in Africa in lieu of a Christmas present, and they can share that joy with someone special that they care about.
I remember when you started the gift catalog, of course it's grown substantially over the years, but I think in the early days it was you could buy a goat.
You could,
right?
Yeah, definitely. I think our most popular item still remains the goat after many
beloved
years.
Goat.
The beloved
right,
goat.
Yeah.
We even get people asking, can World Vision follow that goat for me and tell me how the goat is a number of years later? But we've really expanded a lot of the products that are in the catalog, and I think some of the more exciting ones are things like giving a loan to a woman who can start a small business, because that loan can often transform her life and her family's life in ways that are just life-changing. We oftentimes see them being able to earn enough money that they're feeding their family better, they're able to send all their children to school, and to think we might give up that Christmas sweater and give this life-changing gift instead is just, I think, really heartwarming during the Christmas and holiday season.
Yes, of course, Christmas is coming up, so absolutely consider a donation through World Vision. How many children are sponsored now through World Vision?
Over 500,000 children are sponsored through generous Canadians from all across Canada.
And this is just Canada?
Just Canada.
Right.
Around the world, there's many more people who sponsor children through World Vision.
Now, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, either for finding out more about the organization or to get involved, how do they contact you?
They can go to our website, worldvision.ca. All the contact information is there. There's a number of ways that you can get involved, whether it's through giving a donation, volunteering, being part of one of our advocacy campaigns to address some of the root causes of poverty. So there's a number of ways, depending upon what Canadians are interested in.
Do you love what you do?
I do.
Why? I have to ask you, what is it? What is the spark that it creates for you?
Again, I think it just goes back to that passion, living out your passion. I've always struggled with the fact that we have so much as Canadians, and if Canadians get a chance to travel, they start to realize that our quality of life is so much higher than most people's in the world. And I believe when we're given a lot, we need to give back, and I'm so pleased that I get to wake up every day and be able to give back to Canadians, offer them the opportunity to bring joy into their life because they share of their resources, but then I also know I'm helping to change the lives of children a world away. So what could be better?
Well, Caroline, our time is up, and I've really enjoyed talking to you and finding out more about what you do at World Vision and about the organization. So thanks for your time to be here today and share your story with my viewers.
Thanks for having me.